In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, Happy New Year to everyone. It is 2022, and I hope all your New Years went well. I hope you start this new year with flair and ferocity and passion, and you end up achieving whatever you want in your life today. Uh, that's my wish for everyone, to be very honest. Whatever goals you have in mind, whatever dreams you do not give up, keep striving towards them. You will get them. Um, if I could guarantee, I would. But what I can tell you that if you keep at it and if you keep going after it, there's a very, very, very strong inclination that you will get it, undeniably. What most people say with regards to persistence and determination, when they say it's all about luck, it's all about this, it's all about that, those are people who have given up, or those are people who have prioritized something else. Fair enough. You don't have to be one of those people. If you find joy and happiness in something else, leave what you're doing and go towards that. Fair enough. But if you have a calling, if you have something inside you that needs to come out and you don't know how to do it, find a way to do it in a very small scale. The reason I'm mentioning this today is, thankfully, a lot of people from around the world watched this video of me reading the Quran and discussing it. And it kind of ties into what we do for my company, Lasheen Institute, where we're trying to help people write better, be better, perform better. And the same advice, you can see it in all the religious texts, but you can also see it in life coaching or daily advice that people will give you. And that is, if there is something that sets your soul on fire, I believe it is incumbent upon you to follow it through. So let this year be the year you do that. If there is a job you want to leave it this year. I promise you, you will not end up on the street. I promise you. Okay. If there is somebody you love from a distance but haven't told him or her, go do it now. What's the worst that? Take a leap of faith, and the trust will follow. If I may quote Superman. So try to push yourself a bit more this year, and which leads me swiftly to chapter 12, the relief, or the opening forth. Last week, the last day of 2021, we discussed Prophet Muhammad and his pain and his desperation when he felt like God had ghosted him. Remember, we talked about that God hasn't communicated with me in a while. What is happening? What have I done wrong? How can I make this better? That is the state of mind, and always questioning himself. Always, that's human nature, isn't it? Always thinking, oh, maybe I could have done something better. Oh, maybe I could have done this. Maybe I could have done that. But not finding the answer. And it's not like you have God on speed dial. You can't call him. You have to wait. You reach out and you wait. And I was reading the stories of Job, Ayub, and Jonah, Yunus, and them being inside the whale and struggling and coming back and preaching. And I was reading about that whole journey. There's no telling when God will answer, but as a man of faith, what I can tell you is that God will answer. That is a fact. The when is very opportune. It is at a very specific time. In my life, at least, I have found God's help fully materializes when I am at a complete loss. When I am at a complete loss for paths and words or solutions, that's when God's help comes forward. And it's probably because I am seeing the signs, or the signs are old, or it's just timing. And I wouldn't call it a joke, because timing is very, very important. Me saying these things to you at this time on a Friday is very different from me saying them to you on a Sunday or a Tuesday. Timing is very, very important. So, the next chapter, God is saying a similar thing to the prophet, because this came right after the previous week's chapter, and it's also arranged in a similar manner in the Quran. And the last week, it was a lot of consolation and a lot of support and compassion, telling the prophet how much God has not forsaken him, God does not hate him, that whole thing. And then it comes to this chapter, which is very small, but it's very important. And if you speak to anybody who's read it, or who has recited it in prayer, or who's recited the Quran, or who knows about it, will tell you lyrically it's a very, very attractive chapter as well. But it's one of the first 12, right? This is week 12. So it was revealed in the early days of Islam, because, and you'll see this next week as well, because God was sending messages which were lyrical, memorable, like poetry. So people would listen to them and remember them. And this is like that too. So it starts with title, the relief, or the opening forth. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, have we not opened your breast for you, O Muhammad? And in this regard, breast is not the physical part, breast is the spiritual part. Have we not opened your breast for you, O Muhammad, and removed from you your burden, which weighed down on your back? And have we not raised high your fame, standing, and value? Verily, along with every hardship is relief. Verily, along with every hardship is relief. So it's repeated. That's a lyrical device. فَإِنَّ مَعَ الْأُسْرِ يُسْرًا إِنَّ مَعَ الْأُسْرِ يُسْرًا. It's repeated. I have to tell you, while here I'm trying to talk about the Quran in English, in Arabic, the lyric is so important, and that may not be something that we use in religious texts in other languages, or maybe it is, especially when it comes to Hinduism or other languages. But you have to look at it in Arabic as well. It's beautiful. Verily, along with every hardship is relief. So when you have finished your occupation or your burden or your work, devote yourself to God's worship, and to your Lord alone turn all your intentions and hopes. وَإِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ فَارْغَب. That's it. That is it. Can you imagine such a short chapter? In fact, it's a good idea to start. And I didn't plan it. It just happened that way, one of God's many plans, because it is a small chapter, and it is starting with 3 very distinct gifts that God has given Muhammad, peace be upon him. He has opened his breast, opened his heart and soul. He's removed the burden which he was carrying on his back, and he has exalted him in fame and value, recognition, and so forth. There's 3 things that are reminded in this chapter. This is what we've done. Remember last week we were talking about how God frames an argument, and even before that, remember we did this, we will do it again. Remember we did this, we'll do it again. This will happen to these people because we did it to those people. That's a very common rhetorical device that you see in the Quran. That's a framing device, how God frames an argument, jumping between past, future, and then present. Past, future. And here it's the same thing. He's talking about, well, we opened your breast, we've removed your burden, and we've exalted you, right? Which means with every hardship, there is relief. Remember, with every hardship, there is relief. So when you finished your work, worship your God. Come back to worship and turn to him alone for all your intentions and hopes. It's just a message. You may notice nothing of the weak, Nothing of the poor or the orphans has been mentioned in this chapter. That is why it is even more important, because this chapter is not very context heavy. This could apply to you. Whoever is watching this video right now, this could apply to you. If you do not believe in God, believe in universal law. If you do not believe in universal law, believe in the cosmic spirit. Be pantheistic for all I care, be polytheistic. But and that we are not an end in and of itself. There may be a power beyond ourselves. And that power is saying to you, we have opened your breast, removed your burden, and exalted you. Try to think of 2022 in this regard. We are using the context of Prophet Muhammad's early life as a prophet, where he was struggling to find balance and where he was struggling to proselytize the message of Islam. We're definitely talking about that context. But see how cogent, see how potent this is even today. If I say to you, there is a power, call it God, call it Satan for all I care. I couldn't care less what you call it. Call it an artificial intelligence, call it aliens for that matter. And they say to you, we have opened your breast, which means we've opened your heart. We've removed the burden from your life and we've exalted you. Now, these are wonderful things of giving somebody some recompense, giving somebody support and love and compassion and empathy and sympathy, some recourse. These are three statements which are doing exactly that. And they, of course, apply to Prophet Muhammad at the time, but they also apply to you. I don't know if any of you believe in God or you don't, but what I can say is if you start looking at these 3 points, you will find that life can get better. Let's examine them separately. We've opened your heart. What does that mean? We've opened your heart could mean that we've opened your heart to love, certainly. Maybe you weren't feeling so wonderful in a romantic relationship, so we've opened your heart to that. Maybe you weren't feeling as close to your children as you want to, opened your heart to that. Maybe you weren't feeling as close to your parents as you need to. Maybe we've opened your heart to that. But maybe you weren't feeling as close to your friends, your colleagues, your other loved ones, your pet, your objects, your furniture, your life. If we've opened your breast, we've opened your heart to all of that. But most importantly, 2 things. If we've opened your heart or opened your breast to something, it is possible that we've opened it to love regarding yourself and love regarding God. Given the current state of affairs, which is COVID, a lot of people are suffering with work, with study, with domestic violence, with marital woes, with social anxiety. The world is struggling right now. And as a human family, we're struggling. In that regard, self-pity, self-hatred, self-immolation, these things become central themes to how one identifies themselves, right? Maybe you are one of the exceptions who's never had a horrible day in their life, but I for one can say that I have experienced lows and highs. And during the lows, if God says to you, we've opened up your breast, which means we've opened up your heart. And the first opening will always be, as far as I'm concerned, the first opening of the heart is always regarding love. And you can love everything external to you, but you also are able to love the thing that is internal to you, which is your soul, your spirit, yourself, your body, your face, your achievements, your goals, your dreams, your past, your present. You can do all of that. You can heal traumatic memories, experiences, if you learn to love yourself well. Nobody else is going to come and do it for you, albeit at many times they do, and they do a bang-up job if they do it. But nobody can do it better than you. Of course, your partner, your parents, your children, your friends do a fine job of giving you the love that can heal trauma, that can heal the pain of the past, that can make you a better person today. But all of that pales in comparison to the love that you give yourself. And that is a fact. So opening up your breast means that too. That if they open up your breast, learn to value yourself. Here it is for Muhammad, peace be upon him. But I argue that the same thing applies to you, whoever is watching this, or whoever is listening to this, or whoever exists in the entire world of nearly 8 billion living souls, living human souls. Opening up your breast and then open it up to God, to divinity, to natural law, to spirituality, to soul, to the universal constant. Open it up to whatever you can. That is what it means. So, have we not opened your breast for you? Is a very, very important sentence. Very, very important. And removed from you your burden, which weighed down your back. Lord knows there's so much burden on all of us today. A lot of it is self-created, if I may say so myself, but a lot of it is also external. Whether you're waiting for someone to do something, whether you're hoping for someone to do something, whether you're hoping for things to work out some ways, stress, anxiety, tensions, they always coalesce and create a burden on ourselves. And finally, have we not raised you high in fame, value? Have we not exalted you? I beg to question, in whose eyes? In whose eyes does this exaltation matter? Does it matter that you're a fantastic person? Does it matter that your parents think that you're a fantastic person, achieved everything, the greatest living soul in the entire world? Does it matter that your wife or husband or children think that? If it does matter, then I'm here to tell you, most probably they already think so. Now, don't come at me with exceptions of, oh, but I'm going through a divorce, oh, but my children hate me. You people are the exceptions and need to be dealt with sympathy, love, and compassion. And those are cases that I'm happy to look at and talk about. But I'm talking about families where someone might feel that they are not valued or loved or respected. I have to tell you, more often than not, it is miscommunication or well-intentioned miscommunication or misunderstandings. You are valued, you are loved, you are respected, not only by your children, by your spouse, by your parents, but also your friends and so there's a lot of that is being read again through this book and through every other religious text. Exaltation or raising in value matters most in your own eyes, not in the eyes of your friends or family, because even though you may feel that they don't value enough, there is a strong chance that they do. But because you don't value yourself enough, you're not taking their value at face value or seriously. You're not accepting it because you don't accept it for yourself. So the goal of exaltation in this regard, in my reading, is exaltation in your own eyes. So remember, the first verse talks about opening up the breast, opening up your heart. And I made the argument that you need to learn to love yourself. This is an example of that. If you love yourself, you can exalt yourself. Never, ever indulge in self-pity, in self-hatred, in self-emotion. Do not go down that road. It's not helpful. It's a useless road. You are so much better than that. If there's no one else in this world of 8 billion telling you that, I am here to tell you, you are so much better than that. Your heart and your breast are ready to be opened. The burden of your back is ready to be brought off. You are ready to be exalted. And if I may say so myself, you already are exalted. And it goes back again to say that with every difficulty, there is relief. And with every difficulty, there is relief. So if life is feeling low, I promise you, whether right after or simultaneously or soon after, there will be relief. Life is not all bad and dark and dismal. It isn't. And I don't normally use my life as an anecdotal example to explain the highs and lows of life, but I've been through things which were difficult. You know my story. It's publicly written online. I've been through some things where life was not very clear. It was difficult, but life gets better. And I am living proof of that. I can tell you it gets better. You need to keep pushing towards what you want to do, and you need to keep having faith in God. Thank you, Neem Ahmed. Thank you for writing this. So lovely to hear from you. So try to keep that perspective of yourself rather than the other one, and try to have faith in God. And again, it finishes with turn towards your God and trust your God in providing all that you need. So try to imagine this year in that lens. We're all stuck at home, except some of my friends and family members who are medical doctors who need to be in the hospitals. Most of us are stuck at home. In countries like Canada, in cities like Montreal, going as we speak. So it is so cold to do so many things outside. And then there's the Omicron variant. So we're not going outside at all. And living cooped up in your house is not a recipe for success. It's not a recipe for low mental anxiety. It's not a recipe for joy or happiness. But that is a traditional mode of thinking. Maybe you can find happiness by looking inwards rather than outwards. Try looking inwards and find reasons to exalt yourself, find reasons to give yourself value. Thank you so much, brother, for these sessions. It's so uplifting. Thank you, Munib. Lovely to hear from you. I'm glad I could be of service. Wonderful to hear from you. So try to look at it from the inside and try to give yourself that value. I promise you, today would be better, and tomorrow and this whole year will be better. Of course, a virus, we need to be secure, but don't let it bring your self-esteem down. Don't let it bring your level of joy and excitement about life. Don't let it bring it down. That is in your control. Maybe the virus isn't. Maybe you open the window and you catch it. I don't know. But if you're being safe and if you're staying home, it is up to you to ensure that your mental health is aligned with your greater calling in life of greatness and of high achievement. And I believe that for all 8 billion of you, I believe all of you are superstars and you're kings and queens of your domain, and you can change the world if you want to. So remember the words of God, and remember the book of God or the books of God and all the religious texts which we all love. And thank you for joining me today. Next week is going to be Surah Asr, just 3 verses, and it is a great example of God and his poetic prowess. So I'll see you next week. Wonderful Friday. Have a wonderful